Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers came up with a big win against the Baylor Bears. This was a game that went very much so back and forth. Tremendous quarterback play on both sides. Sawyer Robertson threw for over 400 yards and totaled 3 passing touchdowns on the night. On the other side of things, Jackson Arnold ran for 3 touchdowns himself. If you looked at the stats, you'd be like, what the heck? Robertson, 400 yards passing. Jackson Arnold only a little bit over 100 yards passing on the night, but it was Arnold's legs. You could tell from the get-go of this game that Arnold was not comfortable in the pocket, that Baylor was getting pressure onto him, and that Arnold was not able to connect with his elite group of wide receivers. Don't get it wrong. Eric Singleton, the transfer from Georgia Tech, and Cam Coleman are a group of elite wide receivers. That is a top 10 wide receiver duo in the country, and they were very much so limited early on. Cam Coleman with a nice 50-50 yard sideline catch, but besides that, really not a major factor from them. It was about the third possession, right, that Auburn just decided, all right, we're just going to lean on Arnold's legs the rest of the way. This was a type of confidence in himself and his ability to get out of trouble. First read to the left side, not there. I'm going to take off and run. Don't care about the whole system of the quarterbacks evaluated at the National Football League level. If it's not there, I feel that clock timer in the back of my head. I'm taking off for a gain of 6-7 yards. So 16 carries, a buck 37 for 2 touchdowns. That's the pinnacle of a guy that is truly confident in his abilities, truly confident in his legs, that he is a great athlete and will pick up first downs when he needs to. That's ultimately what it comes down to, moving the sticks. A lot of big-time coaches like Urban Meyer talked about for the Texas-Ohio State game. All he wants to see is the quarterbacks get 2 first downs. You'll be able to flip the field, rely on your defense a little bit. Well, Auburn's first big drive where they were able to move the field, like flip the field, they went 96 yards for a touchdown. Very impressive performance. And Jackson Arnold didn't have to connect with his very good group of wide receivers. I mean, the leading wide receiver for Auburn was Malcolm Simmons. I'm looking here for 26 yards. Cam Coleman, 1 catch for 23. Eric Singleton, 3 catches for 20. That was not the major factor. What was the major factor for Baylor in losing this game is you can't go 5 of 15 on third down. What really helped them is they were down 14 points, 17-3 right before the half, 4th and 9, and there was that big connection for the touchdown. That was huge. I was really impressed by the group of these 2 wide receivers. Kole Wilson, the transfer from Texas State. This kid has wheels. You saw in an early connection, I'm like, wow. That's another burst that we're talking about here. That is real elite speed. And then Michael Trigg, 100 yards and a touchdown. Wilson went for 8 catches and 134 yards. That's what I would say to Baylor fans right now that are a little bit doubtful, that are down about this result. You've got something really good cooking with Sawyer Robertson and those 2 wide receivers. Very much so impressed. Excuse me. No, Trigg's not a wide receiver. He looks like it with his ability, but he is a tight end, 6'4", 240. Also made the mistake of saying that Arnold had 3 rushing touchdowns and not 2. Getting a little bit excited here, as you can imagine, to do this recap, because what a game, 38-24. This game was a lot closer than that score, and if you're an Auburn fan, you are absolutely thrilled to get out of there with the win. I mean, this team has not seen a winning season in, 5 seasons? So this team came in with a whole bunch of expectations. They certainly delivered in a very tough road environment at Waco. That is no easy task to go in there and win. How do you pull that off? It is the rushing effort. They had 3 guys with 16 rushes. They had Jeremiah Cobb go 16 rushes for 74 yards, good enough for 4.5 yards a carry. He also had a touchdown. And Damari Alston, it seemed that this kid had space all night to work with, 16 carries for 84 yards, over 5 yards a carry. They rushed the ball 52 times. Talk about commitment, establishing something. There are only 17 passing attempts, but 52 rushing attempts, 307 yards, 6 yards a carry, and 4 rushing touchdowns. You want to talk about an SEC brand of football coming into a Big 12 environment and saying, we know we can't throw the ball in this game. We're very sloppy, but hey, you're not going to be able to stop our run. we're just going to pound this thing down their throat. We've got a good offensive line. Was a little bit concerned with how the trench play was for Auburn. I would have liked to see them get to the quarterback a bit more in the sense of a guy like Keldrick Falk, like he's expected to be a first-round draft pick. We saw a batted pass production from him, but there needs to be an elevation, especially in outside of SEC play. Have to see more splash plays from him. Would have liked to have him come up with a big play at one of those fourth downs. We saw a later fourth and goal, the 4-yard line. Baylor connects for the touchdown to get themselves back into the game. But what really was the ultimate decider in this one? It was a 7-point football game, late third quarter, and we saw what is probably going to be, one of the highlights in recent memory for a number of Auburn fans, right? The Rashawn Pleasant 98-yard return touchdown. He saw that gap. You saw the space in the formation in that kick coverage, and he hit that hole, and he was gone. That is his third career kick return touchdown. We saw the explosive play out of him. Had some question marks of what the special teams, whether or not they make a play. There was a recent stat that when you have a special teams touchdown, you win the game at 97% of the time. I'll say that again. If you have a special teams touchdown, you win those football games 97% of the time. So obviously Auburn gets that, and we're talking about a one-score game. Auburn getting the football back. Like, Baylor was right there with momentum a whole bunch of times throughout this game, going right there into the second half of this thing with the football down 7. There, the opportunity they just scored early on in the game. And when they cut that thing to 7, they had a whole bunch of chances, but that touchdown really broke their back. And at the end there, you're working with under 2 minutes. It's the 4th and 1. Was interested in the play call. I understood throwing it because you're kind of going, we're going to tie this, pull ourselves within one score a touchdown, or kind of going to lose. Because if you run the ball there, pick up the first down, I understand it extends the game, but you may have to burn a timeout. The amount of time you're working with, especially the way Auburn was running the ball, it just felt like it was a tough spot to come back in. But Trigg, you have to make that catch. You want to establish yourself as the best tight end in the Big 12. You want to be one of the best tight ends in the country. Those are the plays that you just have to come down with, especially when you've got 2 hands on the football. That had to have hurt a lot for Baylor Bears fans. That hurt me watching. I can imagine it's like, oh, we're right there, making a 7-point game. We're able to kick the ball off. There's about 1:10 left. We have the 3 timeouts. Could get this thing back with 50 seconds. And ultimately, there's been some crazy stuff. Our quarterback's thrown for 400 yards in this game. We have a whole bunch of confidence in what he's able to do. Now, the storyline for Auburn after this win, it was like the entire fan base was holding their breath, because if you get by this one, you're staring the barrel of Ball State, South Alabama, 2 games you're absolutely going to win without a doubt. So they will be 3-0 before they have the matchup of Oklahoma. At Oklahoma, and then at Texas A&M, and then at home against Georgia. So Oklahoma, Texas A&M, then Georgia, obviously 3 ranked teams inside the top 20 in the country. Marcel Reed, John Mateer, you've got Gunnar Stockton, very tough program. So that's why this game was so big, because if you are a 9-3 team from the Southeast Conference, I think there's a decent chance you make the playoff. Now, a 9-3 Auburn is a lot different from a 9-3 Florida that has to play a very tough schedule. Now, on the other side of things, as far as positives goes, the same story right now for Baylor is what's very similar to what Colorado is dealing with. Is like, hey, we just lost this game, but it was outside of the conference play. Next week, you're playing at SMU, again, outside of the conference play, but that's a game that's very tough. Kevin Jennings and that SMU squad obviously off the college football playoff appearance. They're currently ranked 16 in the country. I have them ranked a little bit lower down at number 21, dynamic quarterback. That's the question, though. Can you stop another mobile quarterback? Kevin Jennings, obviously, very much so going to rely on his legs. You're going to be facing Avery Johnson later in the season. There's Sam Levitt in a couple of weeks. So this question, it's not like you're going to be seeing Josh Hoover soon, a guy that's just a statue in the pocket, doesn't move around a whole lot. Sam Levitt, Avery Johnson, Kevin Jennings, you have to figure out the run defense and figure out how to stop the run fast. Robert Griffin III was talking about it like, hey, I mean, if you're not able to stop the quarterback run, what's that going to open up the plays on the outside? We really didn't end up seeing any of that. We just saw Jackson Arnold continue to run the ball down their throat. We saw Alston do it, right? We saw Cobb do it, that they had all that production from those three guys, with each of them having the 16 carries. So SMU next week, if you're Baylor, you cannot be down in the dumps. It is time to lick your wounds and get ready for a big-time matchup, because you can't drop to 0-2. Even if conference play, we understand, it just puts you in such a hole that if you were wanting a shot to get to the college football playoff, like, you have to win the Big 12. There's no outside chance. And that is the positive. That's the only thing that you can tell yourself to keep your positive. Hey, we have a ranked matchup against a good football team in SMU next week, so let's get ready for that one. And this is a great opportunity. We look at the film from Auburn, see what went wrong there against stopping a quarterback run. How do we make the adjustments to get ready for a kid in Kevin Jennings, a little bit smaller than Jackson Arnold, not as thickly built, but a little bit more athletic, a little bit more faster, not as good of a passer, but again, it's not like Jackson Arnold killed you with his right arm throwing the football. So I really appreciate you for watching this one all the way through. A lot of positives to take away from this from each of the squads. Obviously, a bit of negatives for each of them too. A lot of things to clean up on the side for Auburn, definitely for Baylor going forward, but very much so excited for the outlook of both of these college football programs. So I appreciate you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe and tune in to more college football content throughout the season. We are so fired up that is back. We're going to continue to come out with stuff as the season goes along, and I will see you next time. Thank you for watching.